Big breaking news coming in here on Mirror Now. Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh has tendered his resignation. Anil Deshmukh meets Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray after the Bombay High Court's preliminary CBI probe order. Deshmukh has stepped down. Soon after the High Court's verdict, Anil Deshmukh has tendered his resignation to Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray. Preliminary CBI probe was ordered by the Bombay High Court on the charges levelled by former Mumbai Police Commissioner Parambir Singh on Anil Deshmukh on charges of extortion and corruption and malpractices, also political intervention in investigations. Now, owing to those charges, the Bombay High Court ordered a CBI probe. A preliminary CBI probe was ordered today. After that verdict, information coming in here that Anil Deshmukh has tendered his resignation. Sandhya joining us with more. Sandhya, this is big news, and this is what the opposition was demanding at the time when the charges were levelled to begin with. Now, after the Bombay High Court's order, it seems the Home Minister has resigned. Tell us more about the sequence of events that took place.
It all started when Mumbai, the beginning is of explosives which were planted outside Antilia, and then Mansafiran's murder case, and the case being transferred to NIA, and then Mumbai Police Commissioner being transferred by Home Minister. That was followed by Parambir Singh, former Mumbai Police CP, alleging and accusing Anil Deshmukh of assigning the task of collecting protection money from bars and restaurants and other establishments to junior cops. And based on that, Parambir Singh and other parties also went to first Supreme Court and then were directed to go to Bombay High Court. And Bombay High Court today gave an order to one of the advocates' petition, Advocate Jaisip Patil's petition, stating that a CBI inquiry will have to be done. CBI preliminary inquiry will have to be done within 15 days, and after that, CBI will decide whether or not there should be an FIR against Deshmukh or not. Now, based on that, Anil Deshmukh has said in his resignation letter, Afrida, that keeping the moral grounds on mind, he has decided to step down from his position as Maharashtra Home Minister. Once the court order came in, he met with Anil Deshmukh, actually met NCP Chief Sharad Pawar as well, and told him that he wants to resign. And as per NCP sources,
प्रीलिमिनरी इंक्वायरी के सीबीआई द्वारा आदेश देने का काम किया है। ये आदेश आने के बाद गृह मंत्री स्वयं अनिल देशमुख जी, पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष पवार साहब से जाके मिले। उन्होंने इच्छा जाहिर की कि ये प्रीलिमिनरी इंक्वायरी चलते हुए मैं अपने पद पे नहीं रहना चाहता, जिसको लेके पार्टी ने निर्णय लिया कि वे मुख्यमंत्री से जाकर अपना इस्तीफे के बारे में इस्तीफा दें। और पार्टी ने मुख्यमंत्री से विनती की है कि गृह मंत्री का इस्तीफा स्वीकारें। इस्तीफा देने के लिए स्वयं गृह मंत्री जो अनिल देशमुख जी हैं वह मुख्यमंत्री के घर गए हैं। पार्टी ने विनती की है कि इस्तीफा स्वीकारा जाए। हमें आशा है कि इस्तीफा वे स्वीकारेंगे और निश्चित रूप से जिस तरह से आदेश आया, स्वयं उन्होंने कहा कि ये उचित नहीं होगा कि मैं इस पद पे रहूं, इसलिए वे इस्तीफा देने का उन्होंने मन बनाया था, जिसे पार्टी ने मुख्यमंत्री से विनती की है कि इस्तीफा वे स्वीकारें। After the order of Honorable High Court on the allegation of ex-Chief Police Commissioner, the High Court has given an order for preliminary CBI inquiry. After the order, Home Minister Anil Deshmukh ji has met Mr. Pawar and party leaders. He has said that I don't want to remain in my chair because the inquiry will be there. Party has accepted his willingness and he went to tender his resignation to Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Party has requested to the Chief Minister that he should accept the resignation of Anil Deshmukh ji. मुंबई हायकोर्टाचा निकाल आल्यानंतर जे परमवीर सिंगनी आरोप केले होते की सीबीआय द्वारे प्रिलिमिनरी इन्क्वायरी झाली पाहिजे. हा आदेश आल्यानंतर अनिल देशमुखजी पवार साहेबांना आणि पक्ष नेत्यांना भेटले. त्यांनी इच्छा जाहीर केली की मला राजीनामा द्यायचा आहे. पक्षाने त्यांच्या इच्छेला होकार दिला आणि ते मुख्यमंत्रीच्या निवासस्थानी राजीनामा देण्यासाठी गेले आहे. पक्षाने मुख्यमंत्रीला विनंती केलेली आहे की आपण अनिल देशमुखजी यांचा राजीनामा स्वीकारला पाहिजे आणि आम्हाला अपेक्षा आहे की हे मुख्यमंत्री राजीनामा स्वीकारतील.
Mr. Vishwas Pathak of the BJP joins us on the phone line. Good afternoon, Mr. Pathak. Your first response to this decision of Anil Deshmukh. This was something that your party was demanding. Mr. Devendra Fadnavis was asking for the resignation of the Home Minister. Are you satisfied with this decision?
Mr. Devendra Fadnavis, but each and every citizen of Maharashtra was demanding his resignation. It was a very unprecedented situation wherein the sitting Police Commissioner of Mumbai leveled charges against Home Minister. Then and that time only he should have resigned it. But instead of that, Mr. Sharad Pawar took 2 days and defended him very strongly that Mr. Anil Deshmukh has not done anything wrong. Today, when Supreme High Court of Bombay Judicature has leveled charges as well as appointed inquiry through CBI, he had to go. And now many more things will come, not only Parambir Singh's letter, but also letter of Sachin Vaze, then 100 crores, then Sachin Vaze case, then many more things will come out. I think this is a very good decision by Mumbai High Court, and whatever this conspiracy was going on will be unearthed.
Right. And when you say a conspiracy, what exactly are you referring to? This is just at the stage of a preliminary inquiry right now. The CBI is going to take over the case. So in a way, things are happening in a certain process, isn't it? Prior to this. Okay, we will first listen in to more reactions coming in. Thanks, Mr. Pathak, for joining us today.
ये तो शुरुआत है, क्योंकि वाजे ने क्या कहा, ये कहा अभी बाहर आया है. और अनिल देशमुख जी पर जो परमवीर सिंह जी ने आरोप लगाए थे, उसकी सीबीआई इंक्वायरी में 15 दिन में क्या निकलने वाला है क्या मालूम है. ये सारे विषय बाहर आएंगे कि कितने पैसे किनको जाते थे, क्योंकि इस प्रकार के काले धंधे में बहुत प्रामाणिकता रहती है, तो बराबर हिस्सा समय पर जाता है, तो सारा विषय सामने आएगा.
Okay, you were listening to Chandrakant Patil of the BJP, of course, again saying that now the truth is going to come out, now that the CBI has taken over. Sandhya is joining us with more information. So, Sandhya, this is a big development today. The Home Minister of Maharashtra has stepped down as soon as the Bombay High Court ordered a preliminary probe into the allegations levelled by former Police Commissioner of Mumbai.
Yes, absolutely, Afrida. And this development is coming barely after a couple of hours when Bombay High Court Bombay High Court actually last week listened to around 4 petitions in this matter and passing its order in one of the petition which was filed by Advocate Jayashree Patil. Bombay High Court actually ordered a preliminary CBI inquiry. And now Anil Deshmukh in his resignation letter has said that he is resigning due to moral reasons, moral grounds. And after the Bombay High Court's order came in, Afrida, he actually met Sharad Pawar, NCP chief, and he said that, and this is what NCP ministers have to say, that Anil Deshmukh actually expressed he expressed that how he wanted to resign. And once Sharad Pawar gave him the green signal, he left for CM's residence and gave his resignation. Now CM is yet to accept his resignation, but as of now, Anil Deshmukh, Maharashtra's Home Minister, has resigned on moral grounds. Afrida.
Stay on with us, Sandhya. Let's listen in to Devendra Fadnavis speaking at the moment.
Jayashree Patil.
Okay, Sandhya, we interrupted you in between. Please carry on. You were telling us the backstory of this entire decision that has been taken by the Maharashtra Home Minister.
Yes, absolutely, Afrida. So, as I said, this has come on after barely a couple of hours when Bombay High Court actually gave its order and ordered preliminary CBI inquiry against Anil Deshmukh. And this is actually a fallout of Parambir Singh's DG Parambir Singh's letter bomb. Remember, Afrida, once when the cases of Ambani bomb scare and Mansukh Hiran murder case both were transferred to NIA, and after that. There was a lot of political this was there in the state, and based on that actually pressure from opposition, a decision was taken by the Home Ministry of Maharashtra to transfer DG Parambir Singh from the position of Mumbai's police commissioner. And after that, a couple of days after that, Parambir Singh actually wrote
Right.
a letter to CM and he gave several allegations against Anil Deshmukh. And actually, one of the allegations was that how Anil Deshmukh, while misusing his position as the home minister, with the help of, he was actually assigning the task of collecting protection money to junior cops, in which Sachin Vaze, the suspended cop, was also included. And that is one of the allegations by Parambir Singh against Anil Deshmukh. So after that, Parambir Singh himself and many other people went to Supreme Court, and then Supreme Court directed them to go back to Bombay High Court. And today, the verdict came in favor of one of the petitioner seeking CBI inquiry. Bombay High Court has given CBI a time of 15 days to conclude a preliminary probe against Parambir Singh and to decide whether or not an FIR is required or not. Afrida.
All right. So now the CBI will gather material to establish whether there is any kind of culpability on the part of Anil Deshmukh on the charges that have been leveled against him. There are serious charges, Santya. If you can just remind us about the kind of charges and allegations leveled by former top cop Parambir Singh against Anil Deshmukh.
So, Frida, one of the allegation is that Parambir Singh in his letter informed Maharashtra Chief Minister that Anil Deshmukh used to meet junior cops in his residence. In fact, Parambir Singh gave dates as well. That included the junior cops whom according to Parambir Singh, Anil Deshmukh met, included suspended cop Sachin Vaze, and in fact, officers from social service branch as well. And according to Parambir Singh's letter, Anil Deshmukh had assigned a target of collecting rupees 100 crore as protection money. In fact, he said that with around 1,750 establishments in the city, the target of rupees 40 to 50 crore can be easily achieved if every establishment will give 2 to 3 lakhs. So these were the details which were mentioned in Parambir Singh's letter. Apart from that, Parambir Singh also said that how during the
Yes.
at time when MP Baker committed suicide, at that time also Anil Deshmukh, without listening to his advisors, actually went ahead and announced the formation of an SIT. And this happened despite Parambir Singh continuously telling that the base of the suicide is with Dadra and Nagar Haveli. That's why the local police should investigate it and not Mumbai police. So these were some of the allegations leveled by former Mumbai Police Commissioner Parambir Singh against Home Minister Anil Deshmukh. Afrida.
Right. Let's just tell our viewers here that Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh has resigned from his post after the Bombay High Court ordered a preliminary CBI probe into the corruption charges leveled against him. The Bombay High Court earlier today ordered this probe into the graft charges against him leveled by former Mumbai Police Chief Parambir Singh. The court directed the central agency to conduct a preliminary inquiry within 15 days. Now, that's the latest that is coming in here. This is a big development. The Bombay High Court has ordered the CBI to conduct a preliminary inquiry within 15 days into the allegations leveled against Home Minister Anil Deshmukh. And following that verdict, Anil Deshmukh has stepped down. In fact, we heard Nawab Malik little earlier saying that as per the order of the High Court, the allegations of Parambir Singh will now be probed by the CBI, and because of that decision, Anil Deshmukh himself expressed his desire to step down from his post. The party has accepted his willingness, and therefore the minister has tendered his resignation and submitted it to Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray. The party has accepted the decision, but the Chief Minister will have to now formally accept the resignation. The party on its part, the NCP on its part, has requested the CM to accept the resignation letter of Anil Deshmukh. So those are the developments that we are tracking now. Vinay Tiwari, Managing Editor of Mir Now, joining me on the phone line. Vinay, this is a big development coming close on the heels of the Bombay High Court decision to order a CBI probe into the allegations leveled by Parambir Singh.
Yes, it is a big decision, but it's come a little too late in the day, to be honest. The damage in terms of perception is already done. And unfortunately, the message that has gone out is that Mr. Deshmukh is left kicking and screaming. It's, the very first time when the severity of the allegations were first reported, when Mr. Parambir Singh wrote to the Chief Minister, and when it became such a serious issue that it created a massive uproar, the government should have proactively actually moved on it. Because clearly, when you offer probes on one hand, when the government says that they are willing to get an inquiry done by a retired judge of the High Court or another independent inquiry, it makes absolutely no logical sense to say the person who's being inquired will continue, even as he's being inquired against by the very people who will ultimately end up reporting to him. So it made no logical sense for this to happen, and pretty obviously now the Bombay High Court today told the CBI to do a preliminary probe into the allegations and called them serious, and gave a 15-day time period for the report to be submitted, which would become the basis for a criminal investigation. It was inevitable that he had to resign, but unfortunately, this government, which should have been fighting COVID and creating and controlling the massive outsurge, has been battling a perception crisis of not having been able to handle a very, very embarrassing episode, Afrida.
Yes, absolutely. Going forward, Vinay, what do you see happening? I mean, after the 15 days of probe, depending on what material the CBI manages to gather, what happens next?
Three things will clearly happen, Frida. One of the reasons, of course, is the High Court's order that came in today. I think there are two other factors that were weighing in on this government. One was, of course, their worry that the BJP is going to step up the ante on this issue and will hit the streets and will, mount protests. And that will just further damage the government's credibility at a time when they're already battling a very serious problem on the health front. I mean, remember, the government is facing a lot of flack on being slightly slow and not being as proactive in figuring out how to handle the massive upsurge in the COVID cases. So they obviously could have done without this kind of a problem. So to preempt the battle that they would have had to do politically, they've of course gotten it done. I do suspect that there are two other things that will happen. One is there is going to be a renewed stress and tension within the Agadi. Remember, with three partners who don't seem to be always seeing eye to eye on many issues, including this one, where the Shiv Sena and the NCP kind of openly disagreed with each other on their interpretation of what Anil Deshmukh did or didn't. It has displayed that there are fissures and there are tensions between the three alliance partners. I mean, Shiv Sena's mouthpiece, Samna, keeps writing things which NCP sometimes doesn't agree with. And sometimes they come openly, they have taken on the Shiv Sena in the past, the NCP in the past. Mr. Sharad Pawar came out openly and defended his Home Minister, whereas the party mouthpiece went and attacked it. So there can be some impact on the relations between the two partners, principal partners. The Congress is the more silent partner, so to speak. They have been complaining about not being kept in loop on important issues. So there is going to be some bit of trouble on that. I think the larger worry for me, Afrida, is that all this trouble and political battle that the government is going to face now doesn't end up impacting the larger and the bigger crisis that they have on hand, which is to handle the COVID outbreak in the state and the city of Mumbai, because that requires the attention of all the ministers in the government, not just some ministers in the government, and that's priority number one for this state, because clearly we are hurtling into a very serious crisis in terms of the pandemic.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and that requires undivided attention, like you mentioned. Vinay, thank you so much for joining us with your perspectives.